Welcome to the Crush It in Sales podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Van Fleet. This podcast focuses on the intersection of sales, leadership, and personal development. Now let's get ready to dig in and crush it. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in this week to the Crush It in Sales podcast. I have a very special guest. She is a friend. She's a former fellow sales rep, and now she's the founder of her own company, which is called Broken Vessel Sales, and that is Dawn Grooters. Welcome, Dawn.
Thanks, Melinda. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. And it's really kind of funny with the universe, how we've had this scheduled, and today we're chatting.
Yes, it is funny.
I love it. So welcome. Do you want to tell everyone about your company, which is Broken Vessel Sales Solutions, and how you got started and how you help everyone out there?
Yes. So like Melinda said, I put together the company Broken Vessel Sales Solutions. So we provide sales solutions for wholesale vendors and reps through education and consulting. And I started this company because, especially during this pandemic and the way things changed over the last 6 months, I ended up as a rep getting let go from my position, and right away had people calling me about how do you do inside sales? Because that's something that I've done for the last 10 years. And so, especially when the pandemic hit and people were not able to visit their customers anymore, they didn't know how to do inside sales successfully. And so as I was getting these phone calls from vendors and reps, I knew that that was something that people needed help with. And as we were going through this pandemic, I knew that my place now was to help serve those people. And so I took all of the training and education that I had discovered over the last 10 years, and I put it into Inside Sales Maximizer digital course that people could take for that. And then I started doing a little bit of consulting with vendors and reps as well to be able to help them during this time, give them the skills they need to be able to do inside sales when they can't be in front of their customers.
That's awesome. And how would you describe, just in case there's someone out there that doesn't really understand what inside sales is, can you just explain it like a little more?
Yes. So inside sales is not the same as outside sales. So as a normal outside sales rep, you go to your customer store and you show them your product lines, and you're able to communicate with them in several different areas. So they can visually see the product, they can hear the words you're saying, they can see your body language, they can hear the tone of voice. There's so many different cues that you can use when it comes to outside sales. And when you're doing inside sales, and that means either communicating with a customer via phone or email primarily, you lose a lot of that ability to get in front of, to show the customer this product and to be able to sell the customer the product. So for inside sales, you have to become very good at verbal communication, the words you're saying and your tone of voice. And you can use some visual by, sending them digital catalogs or your email, but you have to get very good at the verbal communication and very good at follow-up. And so those are the primary things that you need to focus on for inside sales. But if you've already done outside sales, that is a really hard skill to develop when you're so used to using all the other methods for them to be able to see and sell the product.
Wow. And what would you say are people's biggest challenges in like really understanding that, and how are you able to help them? Because you're right, like it's so different even now with COVID and not being able to get in front of people. I would think what you're sharing with everyone is even more important than before.
Yeah. A lot of the times when you are doing outside sales, you just forget about all of those extra things that you need to be able to do with the customer. And so a big challenge is, which I faced when I switched over to do from outside sales to do inside sales, was I thought it was the same thing. I'm just doing it over the phone. And I made a lot of mistakes when I switched over and couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, but I was also very determined. And so I was going to figure it out. I had to figure it out. And so then that's a big challenge, is getting over the fact, well, I know sales and I know how to do it, so I can just do it over the phone. It's a lot different than that. And it's really keeping yourself really organized is crucial for inside sales. It's keeping yourself focused, because it's really easy if you're sitting at your desk for 8 hours a day to lose focus. It's keeping yourself talking through different scenarios. It's getting yourself just adjusted to kind of a different type of sales. And again, working on your verbal communication. So taking cues from the tone of voice that your buyer has, their questions, and then you asking questions too, to dig a little bit deeper with inside sales, so that a lot of people don't like objections. So, a customer will say no to something, and then they don't ask follow-up questions to figure out why there is a no. And if they would ask those questions, then they would be able to see that what the true and root of that objection is. And if they can figure that out, then they can find out ways to overcome that.
Do you see more and more vendors moving to an inside sales business model? Are you hearing that?
Yes, I am. So I'm hearing either they're moving to that solely because they necessarily in this time can't have an outside sales force, or just financially they can't support that. So they are looking to do inside sales. Or I'm getting contacted from several small vendors that have completely relied on shows and just kind of organic leads. And they know that during this time, you can't do that. You can't continue to have sales by just those organic leads or by going to a show or a market. And so they want to continue with their business, and they want to see some increases. So they know that they have to invest to be able to get to that point where they're calling current customers and going after some of those leads a little bit more aggressively.
What are a few tips that you have to keep motivated? Because I would think that, and you touched on it a little bit, but that it could be really hard to keep motivated during the day.
Yes, it is. And so that's something that I had to a skill that I had to develop over the years, is to stay motivated. So I would create goals, and I create a long-term goal, but then I also create very short-term goals. So even if it's a certain amount of calls that I want to get in a day. And so those are things that I would just keep doing, those kind of goals. Or I make my to-do list. And so, trying to even set goals within my to-do list. So I'm going to try and get this done in the morning, and I'm going to get this done in the afternoon, break up my day a little bit. And then I also, for me, it was really important for me to just step away from my computer, because sitting at the computer on the phone for 8 hours in the day, that's hard.
Very.
And so, yes. So taking breaks, even if it's going to walk to the mailbox to get the mail, or, taking a lunch break outside, things like that, to keep myself motivated, and then kind of push my refresh button and then go back to it. So those are some things I do to stay motivated doing inside sales.
Yeah. Would you say that when you call on customers, that in general they're happy to hear from you, or how do you handle it if they're not?
Yes. So I've had both. Honestly, I've had both, and I've dealt with some of the most difficult customers via inside sales, and I've dealt with really easy ones too. A lot of times, calling the customer, it's not just one phone call and you have sold something. It is multiple phone calls and multiple emails to be able to get to the point where you start to be able to develop that relationship. And so, just even calling and leaving a voicemail, telling them who I am, and giving them my contact information. And then if they don't call me back, I call them a week later, and then just putting my name more and more in front of them. And one thing that a lot of people I've had a lot of customers tell me that I'm persistent. And yes, I am persistent, but I talk about it in my course, being pleasantly persistent. So I never want to be pushy, but I'm persistent because I know that I have a solution for them and that I have something that they would possibly want and be able to sell successfully in their stores. And so I'm persistent in that, and I keep contacting them. And then if they give me a no, then I ask more questions. And if they say, I'm not interested in this product, and I'll say, okay, thank you so much for letting me know. And when new things come out, I'll be contacting you again. So I also tell them that I'm still going to contact them, so they're not surprised to hear from me, but I keep contacting them, and I'm persistent in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Persistency and compounding that over time is definitely what gets results. It's amazing. I think that everything you said is right on. And it's just interesting how many people actually don't do it, right?
Yes, completely. That's one thing that I think people don't they don't do to be able to build the customer relationship is, if the customer says, send me out a catalog. Well, I send them a catalog, and then I follow up with them a week later to make sure they received the catalog. And then if they say, yeah, I received it, it's on my desk, and then I'll say, well, I'll give you a week to review it, and then I'll call you back to see what questions you have, or if you want to talk more about the products. And so that is follow-up. And if you're not following up, you're missing sales because you're not being able to show the customer that you're doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And do you find that people then want to have a scheduled call with you and really dedicate the time, or is it just more of a faster transaction?
It's a little bit of both. I do have some that do want to schedule a time, and they'll say, give me a call on Friday morning at 10 or, something like that. So then I call them Friday morning at 10 because I'm doing what they want me to do. Or I'll have people, just say, well, give me a call next week. And so I'll call them next week, and they're like, maybe it's not a good time. So do you have another time that's better? Or is it more? And even if you get the general information, like a morning is better than an afternoon, or this day is better, where, maybe the store tends to be a little less busy. Just even getting that general information helps you to be able to know when to call them and have a better opportunity to have access to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And how would you recommend keeping track? I know you and I have touched a little bit before when we've chatted in the past about CRMs. What would you recommend for everybody?
Yeah. So I have used several CRMs, and I like using CRMs. That's how I keep the follow-up and keep track of it. I did develop a tracker myself that I used to be able to help me stay focused and be able to know when to follow up and who I called and whether there was a sale that was generated from the call, or what line I was talking to them about. So that information I put on a tracker, and that's just something that you can use in Excel. If you don't want to do a CRM and you think they're complicated, this tracker at least helps you to stay accountable for what you're doing. And so then even when you go back to call someone a week later, you can say, well, I remember I called you last Monday and I asked about this, or I told you about this promotion. And so that helps you in your conversations, and it helps you know when to follow up and know maybe when they ordered last and information like that. So I'm the tracker I did put together just because I know not everybody likes to use apps and different programs, or they don't want to necessarily pay a lot of money for a monthly subscription. But I think you need to do something, whether it's a tracker or a CRM.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm so with you. I have tried the CRM thing before, and no offense to any CRM founders listening, but for me, it was just too much. It was too much work. And I'm just an old-fashioned Excel spreadsheet girl. And I was so happy this past spring, I signed up for a speaking course, and it was really, really good. And one of the things they provided, which just made me laugh, was an Excel spreadsheet tracker, just the old fashioned, but they had it all, laid out. It was really nice. And I was like, thank you for just giving me this speaking, Excel spreadsheet tracker versus trying to make me buy a CRM product that was probably going to overwhelm me and take a lot of time. So that's just my 2 cents. So, I know lots of people use CRMs and people love them. That's fantastic. I just think it goes into the bucket of what makes the world go round and what makes, what works for you. Use what works for you. Use a tool, whatever that tool is, use it. Do what works for you. So that's
and
cool.
I think that there's several vendors that have been reaching out to me and asking about CRMs and what I recommend. And I honestly think it depends on your business type and what you're looking to get out of it. And so that's something that I've been just walking through with people is, well, what are you looking for to get out of it? What kind of information do you want to put in it? What kind of information do you want to analyze from it? And then that can help determine what kind of CRM or tracker they use.
Yes. That's so true. Those are good questions. And people probably just need to take some time and think about it and focus and do some research. So there's a lot of them. Wow. Well, you have jammed full of information. Oh my God. Fantastic. Do you have any other tips that you want to share with the audience? It can be in regards to anything with sales. Your oyster right now. So
okay. So follow up, I think, is one of the biggest keys that a lot of people don't do. Whether you're in inside sales or outside sales, follow up is the number one key to be able to have success. And then the other thing too that I think is really important is developing a relationship with your customers. And so not every relationship is going to be great. And sometimes it's hard. There are hard customers to work with, but developing a relationship that shows that you are adding value to their business and that you are there to help them, that will help you to have sales. Even if it's not, you don't agree on things, you don't agree on things in this world and life and all of that, but just showing them that you are there to help them and add value will help you to have a good business relationship with them. And so those are 2 things that I think are really important in sales that necessarily not everybody's doing.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. So many people ask me how I built my territory, and it was all about the relationships. I mean, it was all about understanding what the customer wanted, behaving in the fashion that they expected, which as a road rep isn't common with everybody. I will just put that out there. And, I just kept in touch with them and built a relationship. And sometimes you don't get the order, but you at least it's always building towards that relationship. And what I mean by when I say sometimes you don't get the order, it's just because they weren't ready or they didn't want it or whatever. There's millions of reasons, but eventually it does all come together. And it's amazing to me how many companies don't understand that. They don't understand that the rep has these relationships with customers that not every rep is going to have. It's just not how it works. So, and it takes time. So I remember when I started years ago, it took several years for some of these really tough high-end customers to even want to work with a rep because they're like, I don't like reps. I don't want to work with one. And, it took me years to prove myself. I'll be real honest. Like you had to prove yourself.
And it's not just in one time. It's continually proving yourself to them. Consistently
behaving in a fashion that makes them want to work with you. And, not sitting and chatting about my cats. So
yes, exactly. And some of them, want to do that and you do that. Exactly. But then you get down to business and you talk through, what's going on in the business part of it. But, and some of that you do have to do the personal stuff as well, which is that builds, they get to know you, you get to know them, and you get to know what's important to them as well.
Yeah, totally. So very, very good tips. I love those tips, and I really hope the audience resonates with those as well. I'm going to ask you one more just fun off the hook question.
Okay.
I know you're sitting. No.
Yes, I am.
If you didn't have to sleep and therefore you had 8 more hours in your day, what would you do?
So I love to write, and I would probably write or work out. Those are probably the two things that I would do more, is write or work out. And continually building and creating this business has allowed me to do so much more writing. And that's one thing I have loved about it. And so I'm constantly thinking through and have to write things down because I have so many more ideas of things and ways I can help people. And so that's what I would probably do, write and work out.
That is perfect. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you're right. And I know I've podcasted this topic before. It might be more in my Good Karma Success Coach podcast, but writing's a muscle. So you're absolutely correct. Once you start doing it, once you start creating content, once you open up those creative intentions, more and more creative ideas come your way. It's just the natural flow of the universe and how it works. And so you end up having like little pads of paper and sticky notes and journals all over.
Yes.
You're like, another idea. Another idea. And I'm always like putting things in my phone, and then I transfer it to a journal. So
Yes.
So for anyone out there that's struggling with creating content, with thinking that you can't do it, we all can do it. You just have to start, and it'll grow from there. So
definitely.
Very cool.
Definitely.
Very cool. I love it. I love it. So please tell everyone how they can get hold of you. And I really hope that everyone connects with you.
Okay. So you can find me on Instagram. It's Dawn Grooters, and you can find me on Facebook. And then my website is brokenvesselsales.com. And on my website, there's the Inside Sales Maximizer digital course. So that's something that is a complete training to learn how to do inside sales, whether you've done sales for several years or you are just starting out with sales. This course will help you be able to learn how to do it effectively. And then I'm also hosting a webinar this Wednesday and Thursday this week. And the webinar is 10 ways inside sales can boost your business. And then it's ideas that you can implement right away. Especially right now, we all need some extra boost in our business and our sales. And so I want to give you 10 ways that inside sales can do that for you. And so you can go to brokenvesselsales.com/webinar, and that's where you can get registered for that webinar as well.
That is awesome. Thank you. And I will be putting all of this in the show notes, just always in case someone's driving or running or whatever.
Yes.
For everybody. So that is super cool. Well, I really appreciate you being on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to speak with you as always. And I'm just super excited for all the things that you have been working so hard on and have coming up, and you're doing such a great job on all your videos. So I do hope that people connect and pick up some tips from Dawn, get inspired from Dawn. And even if it's just getting inspired on how to create some content, that's really cool too. Definitely connect with her. And I appreciate everyone listening.
Thank you so much, Melinda.
Awesome. Thank you.